At the family dinner, my mother-in-law hugged my older sister-in-law and then, in front of all the relatives, slapped me across the face, telling me I should follow the older one's example. My husband stayed silent for 3 seconds and then said, "Honey, should we move out today?" And he added, turning to his mother, "Mom, go live with my older brother." She froze, stunned. The sound of the slap echoed through the living room, and the air seemed to solidify in an instant. The hand of my mother-in-law, Grace Foster, still hovered in the air, and in her eyes, one could read triumph and contempt. With her left hand, she firmly held the hand of her oldest daughter-in-law, Sylvia, as if she were a rare treasure. I, Anna Miller, pressing my palm against my burning cheek, stunned by the ringing in my ears, sat in a chair, looking at them. This was how a daughter-in-law of the Foster family was supposed to be. My mother-in-law's shrill voice broke through the ringing in my ears. She handles everything at home, takes care of her father-in-law and mother-in-law, and even gave birth to a grandson, a strong boy to carry on the family name. And you, married for 3 years and an empty belly. You can't even cook a single dinner without almost burning down the kitchen. The living room was full of relatives, 2 aunts, 3 uncles, with their wives and children. More than 20 pairs of eyes were fixed on me. Some looked with surprise, others with malice, and some lowered their heads in shame. Sylvia pretended to pull her mother-in-law's sleeve. "Mom, you don't need to be like this. They are a good couple too." But the corners of her lips curled treacherously into a poorly disguised smile, revealing her true thoughts. My husband, Dylan Foster, was right beside me. I felt his body tense up. 3 years. For 3 years I had been married and endured everything in this house. The mother-in-law's criticisms, the sister-in-law's traps, the relatives' gossip. I thought that if I tried hard, if I loved Dylan, everything would improve. But that slap brought me back to reality. "Mom, what are you doing?" My voice sounded surprisingly calm. I surprised myself. "What am I doing? Teaching you some sense." My mother-in-law put her hands on her hips, spitting the words out. "Today, in front of the whole family, I'm going to show you how a daughter-in-law should behave in the Foster household. Learn from your sister-in-law. See how sensible and skilled she is." Sylvia immediately lowered her head modestly, feigning virtue. "Mom, don't praise me so much. It's just my duty." I touched my burning cheek and raised my eyes to Dylan. He was looking at me. His lips were pressed into a thin line. In the eyes that I had loved so much all these years, a storm of complex feelings was raging. Anger, shame, hesitation. 3 seconds. He was silent for exactly 3 seconds. And at the moment when the last spark of hope in my soul was about to extinguish, Dylan suddenly moved. He stepped forward, placing himself between me and his mother. "Mom." His voice was low, but in the dead silence of the room, you could hear a pin drop. "Are you finished?" The mother-in-law was perplexed, clearly not expecting such a reaction from her son. "Dylan, my wife doesn't need anyone to teach her manners," Dylan cut in, enunciating every word with precision. He then turned to me and took my hand. "Anna, does it hurt?" My eyes immediately filled with tears, but I held back, just shaking my head. Dylan took a deep breath and looked at everyone present. "Dear aunts, uncles, please excuse us. Today's family dinner ends here." "Dylan," screamed his mother, "have you lost your mind? Everyone is here." "Exactly because everyone is here. Some things need to be made clear." Dylan's voice became frighteningly calm. "Mom, you are constantly praising your oldest daughter-in-law. Very well, from today on, go live with my older brother and his wife." "What?" exclaimed the mother-in-law and Sylvia in unison. The older brother, Andrew, also stood up from the sofa. "Dylan, what kind of crap are you talking about?" Dylan, ignoring them, continued. "And Anna and I are moving out today. This house was actually meant for me, but since you don't like my wife, we won't live here anymore. Live with whoever you want." A murmur ran through the room. "Dylan, because of this woman, are you willing to abandon your own mother?" The mother-in-law's voice trembled with anger or fear. "I want respect for my wife, Mom. And you are obviously incapable of that." Dylan squeezed my hand tighter. Sylvia's face went pale. She probably didn't expect things to go this far. She had hugged her mother-in-law to show off her position in front of the relatives, and now that Mom had become a hot potato. "Mom, Dylan is just hot-headed, saying things without thinking." She tried to smooth things over, but Dylan was already pulling me toward our bedroom. "Come on, let's pack our things. We're leaving today." "Do you dare?" The mother-in-law ran after us. "Dylan, If you walk out that door today, you can forget that I'm your mother. Dylan stopped. My heart jumped into my throat. I knew how much he valued family, how much he didn't want to hurt his mother. Those 3 seconds of silence were his internal struggle, but now he turned slowly to her, and in his eyes, there was a determination I had never seen before. You were the first to abandon my wife. If I have to choose, I choose Anna. Saying that, he didn't hesitate anymore. He took me into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. Outside, you could hear the mother-in-law's sobs and the chaotic attempts of the relatives to calm her down. Inside, behind the door, Dylan hugged me tightly, and his voice finally trembled. I'm sorry, Anna. I'm so sorry. I should have defended you sooner. You've suffered so much. The tears I had held back for so long finally poured out, soaking his shirt. He gently ran his fingers over my swollen cheek. In his eyes there was pain and fury. How dare she? How dare she hit you? I shook my head. I wanted to say something, but the words got stuck in my throat. We're moving out today, Dylan said firmly. I have a small apartment near the office. I was getting it ready to rent out. It has simple renovations. We can live there. We'll stay there for now. But what about your job? I knew his career was at an important stage. That house was close to his company. Moving would be a hassle. I can find another job, but I only have one wife. He held my face in his hands and looked at me seriously. Anna, for 3 years I watched you endure all of this for my sake, becoming increasingly quiet and unhappy. That slap was on your face, but it cut through my heart like a knife. I will not allow them to humiliate you anymore. Outside, the mother-in-law's sobs grew louder. Dylan, come out right now. You ungrateful boy, abandoning your own mother because of a hen that can't lay eggs. Words so cruel that not even the relatives could stand them. Someone started trying to calm her down. Dylan's body tensed, but he didn't open the door. Instead, he opened the closet and grabbed a suitcase. Let's just take the essentials. We'll get the rest later, he said. I looked at his back. The man I fell in love with 5 years ago. We dated for 2, married for 3. I had seen him gentle, tired, joyful, but never so determined. Dylan, I called softly. He turned around. Thank you, I said, but I don't want you to break up with your family because of me. We can talk. Talk? Dylan smiled bitterly. Haven't we talked enough these 3 years? Every time she tormented you, I went to talk to her. In front of me, she'd agree sweetly, but behind my back, she'd make everything even worse. Anna, there are people who don't understand compromises. They don't know boundaries. He stepped closer to me, holding my shoulders. And it's not your fault. It was me being too soft. I always wanted peace. I thought that with time she would accept you. But today I understood. Some people never change unless you set clear boundaries for them. Outside there was a knock on the door. It was the older brother, Andrew's voice. Dylan, open up. Let's talk calmly. We're all family. Why make such a scene? Dylan took a deep breath and opened the door. In the doorway stood Andrew, and behind him the mother-in-law, pale as a ghost, and a confused Sylvia. Dylan, Mom was just nervous. She spoke out of turn, Andrew said in a conciliatory tone. You see? Sylvia has already apologized to her, right? Sylvia? Sylvia nodded reluctantly. Anna, sorry, Mom is elderly. She has a fiery temper. Don't hold a grudge. The mother-in-law turned her face away with an expression of, I'm not to blame for anything. Dylan looked at them and suddenly laughed. A cold, joyless laugh. Andrew, if Sylvia had been hit today, what would you do if Mom, in front of all the relatives, slapped her and said she was worse than the others? Would you also say that Mom is elderly and that you shouldn't hold a grudge? In the living room, everyone held their breath. I wouldn't do that, Dylan continued, because I know that when you truly love someone, you don't allow them to be humiliated like this. This slap wasn't an accident. It was the climax of 3 years of contempt and mistreatment. He looked at the relatives. You are all witnesses. From today on, Anna and I will live separately. If Mom thinks the oldest daughter-in-law is so great, let her live with you guys. The money for her maintenance? I'll transfer it punctually. But that's it. Dylan, you dare! The mother-in-law yelled and tried to lunge forward, but Andrew held her back. Mom, isn't the scandal enough? Andrew rarely raised his voice at his mother. Dylan paid them no more attention, turned around, and continued packing. I stood there looking at that crowd, feeling a bitter irony. For 3 years I tried to please every single one of them, and in return, I received public humiliation. And today, when I stopped yielding, the world suddenly began to change. "Anna, go pack your things," Dylan said gently. "We're leaving in an hour." I nodded and went to the closet. Outside, the mother-in-law's crying gradually subsided, replaced by whispers and pleas from the relatives. I couldn't make out the words, but I could imagine what they were talking about. Half an hour later, we had packed 2 suitcases. Dylan called an Uber, then took my hand, and we left the bedroom. The relatives in the living room still hadn't left. Upon seeing us, everyone fell silent. The mother-in-law was sitting on the sofa sobbing. Sylvia pretended to console her, but occasionally threw glances at us. "We are leaving," Dylan said calmly. "I'll leave the keys on the table." "Dylan," the mother-in-law stood up abruptly. "If you leave today, you might never come back." Dylan stopped without turning around. "Mom, a home isn't just walls. A home is where there is love and respect. When you learn to respect my wife, I will bring her to visit you." Saying that, he pulled me along, and we left the house where I had suffered humiliation for 3 years, without looking back. When the elevator doors closed, I nestled into Dylan's chest and finally broke down in tears. Not from hurt, but from relief. "Where are we going?" I asked between sobs. "Home. To our home." Dylan kissed my forehead. "A home that belongs only to the 2 of us." The car sped through the nighttime city. The neon lights entered through the window, casting whimsical shadows on Dylan's face. "Does it still hurt?" he asked again, lightly touching my swollen cheek. I shook my head, more worried about him. "You had a massive fight with your family. Are you okay? And what about your job?" "With work? I'll figure it out." He squeezed my hand tightly. "Anna, you know, all these 3 years, every time I saw your forced smile, every time I saw Mom humiliate you, I felt like the lowest scum. That slap was like a blow to my own face." I nestled onto his shoulder, and tears once again blurred my vision. "I just didn't want to cause you trouble. Husband and wife are one. Causing you trouble is causing me trouble." He sighed. "I used to think time would change everything, that Mom would gradually accept you, but now I understand. Some things will never change if you don't draw a clear line." The car stopped in front of a high-rise condo complex. It was in downtown Chicago, a completely different world from the old neighborhood where the Foster family lived. "Is this it?" I was a bit surprised. "An apartment I bought last year as an investment. I thought about waiting for the price to go up and selling it." Dylan took out the suitcases. "Now it seems it will be very useful for us." The apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, with a modern, minimalist style. The furniture was in place, but it lacked human warmth. It was a bit cold. "Tomorrow we'll buy some things to make it cozier." Dylan turned on the light, and the room filled with a warm yellow glow. I went to the panoramic window and looked down at the busy streets below. Suddenly, a sense of reality washed over me. 3 hours ago, I was in that suffocating house, suffering aggression and humiliation. And now I am in a space that belongs entirely to us. Suddenly, the phone rang. Mom appeared on the screen. Dylan looked at it and simply declined the call. "Tomorrow I'm changing my number. I'll only give it to those who need to know," he said. "Anna, think about doing that too. Maybe it's best not to use your old number for a while." "That drastic?" I worried. "If we don't cut ties, they won't leave us in peace." Dylan smiled bitterly. "I know my mother's temper. She'll use every means to make us go back, especially me. We need time to be in complete peace and think about how to live from now on." I nodded and also turned off my phone. It was already late. We nestled into the single bed in the guest room, but sleep wouldn't come. "Dylan, there's something I didn't tell you," I whispered in the dark. "What?" "Last week I went to the doctor. I bit my lip. The doctor said I have a slight issue with my fallopian tubes. The chance of getting pregnant naturally is quite low, but it exists. I wanted to undergo a quick treatment and then tell you." Dylan turned to me in the dim light. "So that's what Mom meant by a hen that can't lay eggs." I nodded, and tears silently rolled down my face. "Silly girl." He hugged me tightly. "Children are fate. If we have them, great. If not, that's fine too. I love you, not your ability to have children. Besides, medicine today is so advanced that if we really want a child, we can try other methods or adopt. What matters is that you are by my side. But your mother? It doesn't matter what she thinks." Dylan's voice was firm. "What matters is what I think and what you think, Anna. From today on, we will live only for ourselves, not for the expectations of others." That night, I cried on his chest until I fell asleep, as if trying to expel all the pain and resentment of 3 years. The next morning, the sun came through the curtains. I opened my eyes and saw that Dylan was already in the kitchen. "We only have eggs and pasta in the fridge. For now, let's eat this, and then we'll go to the supermarket." He was wearing an apron and looked a bit funny, but it warmed my heart. It was the first morning in 3 years that I didn't wake up to my mother-in-law's critical voice or my sister-in-law's bragging, but to the sizzle of eggs in a frying pan and the sight of his beloved back. "Can you still see the mark on my face?" I pointed to my cheek. Dylan looked closely. "It's a little red, but barely noticeable. Later we'll stop by the pharmacy and buy some ointment." As we were talking, the doorbell unexpectedly rang. We exchanged glances. Who could it be so early? Dylan looked through the peephole, and his face clouded over. "It's my older brother." My heart tightened. Andrew, my brother-in-law, seemed polite, but he was actually the most calculating of them all. "Should I open it?" I asked. Dylan thought for a moment and nodded. "Sooner or later we'll have to face him. Let's see what he has to say." The door opened. In the doorway stood Andrew with a breakfast bag and a wide smile. "Dylan, Anna, how are you settling in here?" He walked in as if nothing had happened, placing the bag on the table. "Mom sent me to bring you some food. She woke up early today just to make a chicken pot pie with your favorite filling." I looked at the dish with the pot pie and smiled coldly. First the punishment, then the reward, the classic style of my mother-in-law. "Andrew, if you have something to say it directly." Dylan didn't touch the food. "If you came to convince us to go back, you can leave." Andrew's smile froze. He sighed. "Dylan, why be like this? Mom is elderly, her temper is and has Mom ever shown understanding for Anna?" Dylan countered. 3 years, Andrew. You saw everything. You saw how she treated her. Yesterday's slap was in front of all the relatives. If Sylvia had been hit, would you be able to say, have a little more understanding?" Andrew had no answer. "Brother, I know what you're thinking," Dylan continued. "You're afraid Mom will actually move into your house. You're afraid Sylvia will be dissatisfied, that you'll have more work." Hit squarely. Andrew's face changed. "You can relax. The money for her maintenance, I'll transfer it punctually. If Mom gets sick, I'll also pay my share of the expenses. But since she thinks the oldest daughter-in-law is so great, let her live with you guys, so she can enjoy it. The grandson will be close by." "Dylan, what are you saying?" Andrew rubbed his hands, looking embarrassed. "Sylvia works, and the boy is a handful. Mom won't be comfortable. That's no longer my problem." Dylan was inflexible. "Mom has a choice. Either she lives alone in the old apartment and I hire a caregiver for her, or she lives with you, and I help pay. But she is not living with us. That is my final word." Andrew opened his mouth but ended up turning to me. "Anna, at least you influence him. We are family. Why fight?" Mom said. "If you come back and apologize, she will forget everything." "Apologize?" I almost laughed. For what should I apologize? Andrew was perplexed. He apparently didn't expect the always submissive Anna to become so firm. "Andrew, I was the one who got hit. I was the one humiliated. For 3 years I worked like a dog in that house. And what did I get in return? A slap in front of everyone and the insult of being a barren hen." I stood up and looked directly into his eyes. "I will not apologize because I'm not guilty. If anyone should apologize, it's your mother." "Anna, how did you?" Andrew's face showed bewilderment. "How did I change?" I completed it for him. I changed because I understood that respect isn't earned with patience. Dylan chose me, and I won't leave him alone to deal with all this. Dylan stepped close to me, took my hand and said, "Andrew, brother, we've said everything. Pass it on to Mom. Either she apologizes and learns to respect Anna, or we live separately, each with our own lives. There is no third option." Andrew looked at us, then at the pot pie, sighed, stood up, and headed for the exit. At the door, he turned around. "Dylan, you know Mom's temper. She will never apologize. Are you guys going to stay estranged like this?" "Then we'll stay estranged," Dylan replied calmly. "It's better than allowing my wife to be humiliated." The door closed. My legs felt weak. I almost fell. "Are you okay?" Dylan supported me. I think I was too harsh. I regretted my words. In 3 years, I had never raised my voice at his family. Those words seemed to have been spoken by someone else. "No, you did everything right." In Dylan's eyes, there was admiration. "Anna, remember, From today on, you don't have to mold yourself to anyone. Not to my family. Not to my mother. That day, we changed our phone numbers, went to the supermarket, and made our new apartment cozy and comfortable. Dylan even bought a bouquet of sunflowers and put it in a vase. Sunflowers always turn to the sun, he said. And so should we. At night, we were sitting on the new sofa. Dylan opened a laptop he hadn't used in 3 years. I didn't tell you something. He hesitated a little. Actually, since last year, I've been setting up a startup with some friends. I wanted to wait for everything to settle down before telling you. A startup? I sat up straight. But you have a great job at the company. That's just on the outside. Dylan smiled bitterly. Family business, you know. Andrew is the oldest son. In the future, everything will go to him. No matter how hard I work, I'll always just be a highly paid employee. Besides, Mom and Sylvia always thought I got my position through nepotism, but it was actually the opposite. He paused. Anna, if I say I want to resign and dedicate myself to the startup, would you support me? I looked into his eyes. In them, there was uncertainty, hope, but above all, determination. Yes, I replied without hesitation. Whatever you decide, I will support you. Dylan let out a sigh of relief and hugged me. Thank you. Me and 2 college friends have been preparing this project for over a year. We've already received the first round of seed funding. I was unsure about when to quit, and now it seems like the right time. As for the starting capital, I have my savings. Besides, this apartment is paid off. If necessary, we can take out a mortgage on it, said Dylan. But most importantly, Anna, I want to prove to everyone that even without the family, I can provide you with a good life. My heart warmed, but I worried. But a startup has risks. In the worst case, you'll have to look for another job. Dylan viewed it calmly. But I believe in our project and our team. Anna, are you ready for this with me? Ready. I nestled onto his shoulder. But first, I want to do something. What? Find a job, I said. I can't leave everything on your shoulders. Besides, I touched my cheek. I also want to prove to myself that Anna Miller isn't just a freeloader. Dylan looked at me, and admiration flashed in his eyes. My wife, it turns out, is completely different. That slap woke me up. I smiled bitterly. And it woke up my self-deceiving patience of 3 years. Outside, the city lights were turning on. Our small temporary nest was gradually filling with warmth. Even though the phones were off, I knew the storm in the Foster family was just beginning. The mother-in-law wouldn't surrender so easily, and the sister-in-law wouldn't miss the chance to watch the show. A new week began. On Monday morning, I was making coffee in the kitchen. The sun came through the blinds, casting shadows on the counter. The apartment was small, but an air of freedom hovered in it. I didn't have to wake up at the crack of dawn to make breakfast for the whole family. I didn't have to listen to the mother-in-law's criticisms about the soup being too bland or too salty. I didn't have to watch the sister-in-law brag about her son's latest achievements. Anna, this morning I'm going to the office to hand in my resignation letter. Dylan came out of the bedroom already in a shirt and slacks, looking invigorated. In the afternoon, there's a meeting with the team. You'll hold down the fort here at home, don't worry. I handed him his coffee. Today I'm also going to start sending out resumes. Dylan nodded, but added with a bit of concern. Actually, you don't need to rush with work. I still have savings. I want to work, I interrupted, not for the money, but to find myself again. 3 years ago, to become the ideal daughter-in-law, I had abandoned my job as a designer. The mother-in-law used to say that the daughters-in-law of the Foster family didn't need to work. I had genuinely stayed home to help my husband and raise children, even though the children had never existed. Now looking back, what an idiot I was. After Dylan left, I opened my old, dusty laptop and logged onto a job board. My resume needed serious editing. A 3-year gap in my career was a huge disadvantage. I was thinking about how to explain this when my phone rang. It was a new number. Few people knew it. Chloe Matthews appeared on the screen, my best friend from college. Anna, you finally answered? Chloe's voice was agitated and angry. I heard everything. That old witch of a Foster slapped you in front of everyone, and that Dylan of yours finally grew a pair. Where are you guys now? Are you safe? My heart warmed. We're at Dylan's apartment. Everything is fine. How did you know? How did I know? The drama of your family has already spread all over Chicago, Chloe huffed. It was that snake of a sister-in-law, Sylvia, who posted a passive-aggressive update on social media. Something like, some daughters-in-law don't know how to respect their elders, so the mother-in-law has to educate them, and attached a photo of them hugging. I knew right away something was wrong. I called your old number. Silence. I had to track down your new number from Dylan's coworkers through mutual acquaintances. My heart sank. Sylvia, of course. She wouldn't miss a single opportunity to defame me. Chloe, I'm fine. Fine. And is your face hurting? Do you want me to go over there and beat up that old lady? Chloe was always a fighter. In college, she was my main defender. I couldn't help but laugh. Seriously, there's no need. But I do need your help. I'm looking for a job, but I have a 3-year gap on my resume. I hesitated. Can you recommend me? Or maybe your company has a suitable opening? Chloe worked as an art director at a renowned design agency. When I quit, she called me a love-struck fool and said I would live to regret it. Of course. Chloe's voice was cheerful. We are actually looking for a senior designer. Come on over, I'll recommend you. And the gap is nonsense. Just say you were taking care of family and now the kid is off to daycare and you want to get back to work. But I don't have a child. And who says taking care of family strictly means taking care of a child? One can take care of a bedridden mother-in-law, can't they? Chloe declared firmly. Anyway, the Fosters owe you this, so you can leverage their reputation a bit. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but it gave me an idea. In hanging up, I corrected my resume. In the section about the career break, I wrote 2023 to 2026. Temporary leave from work for family reasons to care for a family member. It wasn't a lie. For 3 years, I really did take care of that entire large foster family. They simply didn't value it. After sending the resume, I started cleaning. The apartment was clean, but I needed something to do to calm my nerves. While I was mopping the floor, the doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, I saw my mother-in-law, Grace Foster. She was alone, holding a thermos, looking exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. My heart raced. In 3 years I had gotten used to fearing and hating her. That deep-seated fear in my bones wasn't so easy to overcome. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door, keeping the security chain latched. "Hello, Mom," I greeted her calmly. Grace clearly didn't expect such calmness. She froze for a moment and then forced a smile. "Anna, honey, I came to see how you two are doing. I made some chicken soup. Your favorite." "My favorite." I smiled mentally. In 3 years she had never remembered what I liked. The one who loved chicken soup was Sylvia. "Thank you, but we've already had breakfast." I didn't reach for the thermos. "Dylan is at work. Do you need something?" Grace's smile froze. I was wrong. Yesterday I acted poorly. I shouldn't have raised my hand. We are family. Why fight so much? Come back home. I promise I will treat you well. I promise. In 3 years, I had heard that promise countless times. "Mom, Dylan made everything clear yesterday." I spoke in a balanced way, without subservience. "If you truly acknowledge your mistake, say that directly to him. And as for coming back, we aren't planning on it for now." Grace's face changed. Her voice trembled. "Anna, you have no heart. I'm already at this age. And you want Dylan to sever ties with me? You are a woman too. One day you will also be a mother-in-law. Can't you understand me?" Emotional blackmail again. I felt disgusted. "Mom, understanding must be mutual." I looked directly into her eyes. "For 3 years, I understood your pain after your husband's death. I understood your expectations of the youngest daughter-in-law. I understood all your whims and criticisms. And did you ever understand me? Did you understand how an outsider feels stepping into the Foster family? Did you understand how hard it was for me to integrate into your family?" Grace had nothing to say in response. "That slap killed the last remnants of my feelings for you," I continued. "Go home, Mom. If you want to fix things, start by learning to respect me. But I won't hold my breath, because some people might never learn to respect others." Saying that, I prepared to close the door. "Wait." Grace abruptly stuck her hand out. "Anna, I beg you. Dylan listens to you more than anyone. Convince him to come back home. I can't live without my son." Tears poured from her eyes. It seemed very sincere. Before, I probably would have softened, but today I just shook my head. "Mom, Dylan is an adult. He has his own opinions and his own choices. I respect his decision, and I hope you will respect it too." Releasing the chain, I opened the door fully and made an inviting gesture. "Go home, Mom, and take the soup to your oldest daughter-in-law. She likes it so much." Grace's face instantly went pale. She apparently didn't expect me to expose her farce so directly. Grabbing the thermos, she left, stunned. Closing the door, I leaned against it. My heart was beating wildly. Those words cost me almost all the courage I had. The phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Resume delivered to HR. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Interview. Passing or failing is up to you. Good luck. I replied with a hug sticker and then texted Dylan. Your mother came by. I sent her home. A few seconds later came the reply. You did great. Tonight we dine at home. I'll cook. Looking at the message, I suddenly felt that my new life had truly begun. In the afternoon, I received interview invitations from 2 other companies. Besides Chloe's agency, there was a smaller but promising design studio. I opened the closet and started picking out clothes. The pieces from 3 years ago were a bit out of style, but fortunately, classics are eternal. I chose a white silk blouse and black wide-leg trousers. Simple and professional. Standing in front of the mirror, the 3 years of married life had added softness and submission to my look, but diminished the sharpness. But today, when I spoke those words, the confident and radiant Anna Miller from college seemed to have returned. The phone rang again, this time an unknown number. I hesitated a bit, but answered. Hello, Anna, honey. It's Aunt Lucy. On the other end of the line was my mother-in-law's older sister. I heard that you and Dylan moved out. What happened? Here comes the army of foster family negotiators. Auntie, we just decided to live alone for a while so everyone can calm down. I tried to be polite. Oh, what nonsense. We are family, there's no need for calm. Aunt Lucy's voice was full of that typical unsolicited wisdom. Anna, don't take this the wrong way, but your mother-in-law, although explosive, is older. Is yielding just once really that hard? Look at how smart little Sylvia is. Auntie, I interrupted. If you called to give me a moral lecture, I'm sorry, but I'm very busy. What a cheeky girl. How can you talk like that? Lucy was indignant. I only want what's best for you. What good does this scandal do you? Dylan is defending you now. But men are like that. The novelty wears off, and he'll remember his mother. And then what? You'll be left without one or the other. That is my problem, Auntie. Don't worry, my voice was cold. If you have nothing else to say, I'm going to hang up. Wait, Lucy hurried. Anna, listen to your aunt, lower your head, apologize, go back home. Your mother-in-law said, if you come back she won't bother you anymore. She has promised that many times, I said calmly. Auntie, I have things to do. Goodbye. Hanging up, I blocked the number. Soon, calls from other aunts and uncles started pouring in. The essence was the same. I should be sensible, think of the family, respect the elders. I responded to all of them politely, but firmly. By the end of the day, I surprised myself with my calmness and determination. It turns out that when you stop worrying about what others think, you become much freer. In the evening, Dylan returned with shopping bags. I heard you repelled an attack from an entire army today. He smiled, put the bags down, and came to hug me. How do you know? I was surprised. Andrew called. Says you dismissed Aunt Lucy and Uncle Peter in a way that they couldn't even get a word in edgewise. And Mom is at home breaking things in anger. Dylan's voice was full of pride. You did very well. I just said what needed to be said. I helped him unpack the groceries. Did they accept your resignation letter? They did. Starting next month, I'm officially resigned. Dylan put on an apron. But today I received some good news. Our project secured the second round of investments. More than we expected. That's great. I rejoiced sincerely for him. At dinner we discussed our plans. Dylan's startup was about smart homes. The prospects were excellent. My preparation for the interviews was also in full swing. We were like a normal young couple, planning the future. Anna, after dinner, Dylan looked at me seriously. I want to tell you something. When my company takes off, we might have to move to another city, to New York or Austin. There are more opportunities there. Would you be down? I froze for a moment and then nodded. I'm down for anywhere as long as it's with you. Dylan squeezed my hand tightly. I know it won't be easy for you to leave your hometown, but here the shadow of the Foster family will always be over us. Changing scenery, starting from scratch, might be the best choice. I thought for a moment. Then, to New York. Chloe doesn't live far. And the design scene there is very developed. Whatever you want, Dylan. It was the first sincere smile I had seen on his face in 3 years. It was already late, but I couldn't sleep. I went out to the balcony and looked at the nighttime city. 3 years of marriage, I thought I was building a family, but I was really just playing a role. The mother-in-law didn't want a daughter-in-law, but an obedient maid. The sister-in-law, a contrast to make herself look even better. And I myself, in an attempt to please everyone, had gradually lost myself. That slap woke me up. The phone screen lit up. It was a text from Sylvia from a new number. "Anna, Mom came back today and cried a lot. She says she apologized and you didn't accept it. We are a family. Why be so cruel? Can't you be a little more magnanimous?" I looked at the message and suddenly laughed. And then I replied, "Sylvia, since you are so understanding, demonstrate the required respect. After all, according to her, you are the best daughter-in-law, aren't you?" Hitting send, I blocked the number. The night wind carried the warmth of early summer. Tomorrow I had an interview. I would go back to being the designer, Anna Miller. The next morning, I was in front of the mirror, checking my makeup. The perfectly ironed white blouse and the black wide-leg trousers enhanced a professional look I hadn't worn in 3 years. Hair tied up in a neat bun. Light makeup, perfect. My wife is going to crush it today. Dylan hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Stop that." I pushed him away, laughing. "Good luck to you too. First day at the new company is a big deal." He kissed me on the cheek. "Tonight we celebrate, regardless of the outcome." At 9:30 a.m., I was in front of the commercial building where Chloe worked. It was an imposing building with a glass facade that reflected the sun. Walking into the lobby, I felt the familiar but long-forgotten buzz of the corporate environment. "Anna!" Chloe stepped out of the elevator in a sharp business suit. "Come on, I'll take you to the interview." "Isn't that against the rules, maybe?" I hesitated. "What isn't against the rules? I'm the art director. I have the final say." Chloe grabbed my arm and lowered her voice. "But protocol still has to be followed. 3 people will interview you. Me, the HR director, Victoria Vance, and the marketing manager. Just be yourself. I saw your portfolio. It's excellent." The elevator went up, and Chloe continued with her instructions. "Victoria is a strict lady, loves trick questions. The marketing manager values commercial profit, so focus on the market potential of your work, and me. Well, you get it. I'm just there for show." "Chloe, thank you," I said sincerely. "Thank you. Because in college, if you hadn't helped me with my senior thesis, I would have failed a long time ago." Chloe winked. "Besides, I really need someone talented. You didn't just sit on your hands at home these 3 years, right? I saw that you occasionally posted some very interesting interior design projects on social media." I nodded. Even though I had quit my job, I hadn't abandoned the profession. I frequently took freelance gigs online and taught myself new software. The Foster family didn't know this. They thought I just sat at home doing nothing. The interview took place in a well-lit, glass-walled conference room. At a long table sat 3 people. Chloe, a severe-looking middle-aged woman, probably Victoria Vance, and a man with a smiling face, the marketing manager. "Anna Miller, please have a seat." Victoria Vance leafed through my resume and adjusted her glasses. "I see you've had a 3-year gap in your career. Can you explain?" There it was. I took a deep breath and answered as we had rehearsed yesterday. "For the past 3 years, due to family reasons, I temporarily stepped away from standard employment, but I never stopped my professional development. I taught myself SketchUp and Rhino. I completed over 10 private interior design projects. Here's my portfolio." I passed the tablet to them. On it were my carefully selected works, a kid's room for friends, an apartment renovation for an online follower, and even the redesign project for the old Foster house that my mother-in-law had rejected without even looking at it. The marketing manager scrolled through, occasionally nodding. Interesting loft design, very high space utilization. "And from the standpoint of commercial value, what are your thoughts?" "I believe good design must combine aesthetics and practicality," I spoke fluently. "For example, in this kid's room project, I used adjustable modular furniture that can change as the child grows. This type of design is highly sought after by young families." The interview lasted 40 minutes. The questions ranged from hard skills to career plans and even a stress test. I gradually hit my stride, and the confidence I had lost over 3 years returned. At the end, Victoria Vance closed my resume. "Anna, your professional skills are at a good level, but the 3-year gap is, of course, a disadvantage. If we hire you, how can you guarantee that you will quickly adapt to the intense workload?" "Miss Vance, managing a household is also a form of intense work." I smiled. "It requires multitasking, time management, and emotional regulation. I am certain these skills are equally important in an office." Furthermore, precisely because I've been away for 3 years, I value the opportunity to return to work more than anyone else. Under the table, Chloe discreetly gave me a thumbs up. The interview concluded. Victoria Vance told me to wait for a call. Chloe walked me down to the lobby. As soon as we reached the ground floor, her phone rang. What? Chloe's face changed. Are you sure? Okay, I understand. Hanging up, she looked at me with a complex expression. Anna, we have a problem. What happened? Your mother-in-law and her favorite daughter-in-law are in HR right now, Chloe said through gritted teeth. They found out somehow that you were interviewing here, and they rushed to Victoria to complain that you have inappropriate behavior, don't respect your elders, and aren't suited to work at our company. My head spun, blood rushed to my face. They dared to stalk me all the way here. Victoria had security escort them to the visitor conference room, but this will definitely affect the hiring decision. Chloe pulled me toward the elevator. Let's go. Let's see what these two want. The elevator ascended. I watched the numbers change, and a rage swelled in my chest. My mother-in-law hadn't heard a word I said. No, she heard it, and because of that, she decided to destroy my future in another way, to force me to go back and bow my head. Chloe, from here I'll go alone, I said calmly. My voice was so cold that I didn't recognize it myself. I can handle this. I looked at my reflection in the elevator mirror. My gaze was steady. Some debts need to be collected in person. In the visitor conference room, sitting on the couch, were my mother-in-law, Grace Foster, and my sister-in-law, Sylvia. My mother-in-law had red, swollen eyes as if she had been crying. Sylvia feigned sympathy. Victoria Vance stood near the window with an expression of intense displeasure. Upon seeing us, she frowned. Chloe, what is going on here? Why is a job interview at this company turning into a family brawl? Miss Vance, I apologize for causing this disruption. I stepped forward, stepping ahead of Chloe. These ladies are indeed my relatives, but I had no idea they were coming today, and this has nothing to do with my interview. Anna! The mother-in-law stood up, preparing to play the victim once again. I beg you, come back home. Why air the family's dirty laundry? Why make everyone laugh at the Fosters? You are the one airing the family's dirty laundry, Mom, I replied coldly. I am going through an official job interview, and you come to the company where I might work and claim I have inappropriate behavior. Is this what you call caring for the family? Sylvia hurried to intervene. Anna, Mom only wants what's best for you. You haven't worked for 3 years. It will be hard for you. It's better at home. Mom said she won't hurt you anymore. Sylvia, I turned to her. The day before yesterday, you came to my house with chicken soup and said it was my favorite. You said Mom was remorseful and was begging me to come back. And today you are with her causing a scene at the company where I'm interviewing. Which one of you is lying? Or are you two just playing good cop, bad cop? Exposed, Sylvia turned pale. Victoria Vance watched us thoughtfully. Miss Vance, I apologize for taking up your precious time. I bowed slightly to her. But I need to clarify. My family circumstances do not affect my professional qualities in any way. If you doubt my integrity because of this, I am willing to undergo any background check. The mother-in-law, in a panic, blurted out. Miss Vance, don't listen to her. She is just angry because she can't have children, and she's turning my son against his mother. What company would hire a woman like that? The conference room fell silent. Can't have children. Those words, like 4 knives, dug into my heart. Chloe was ready to lunge at her, but I held her back and laughed. Mom, so in your opinion, a woman's value lies solely in giving birth? I laughed so hard that tears came to my eyes. So Sylvia, who gave birth to a son, is worth more than the barren hen? I had hit a nerve. The mother-in-law truly valued the male heir above all else. Miss Vance, ladies and gentlemen, I turned to everyone, including a few employees who were pretending to walk by but were actually eavesdropping. Since we've reached this point, I will tell everything as it is. My name is Anna Miller. 3 years ago, I got married and resigned for the sake of the family. For 3 years, I diligently cared for my father-in-law and mother-in-law. I managed the household. But because I didn't have children yet, I suffered constant humiliation. The day before yesterday, at a family dinner, my mother-in-law, in front of everyone, slapped me across the face, saying I was worse than the older daughter-in-law. My husband couldn't take it and moved us out of the house. Today, I came for an interview to start from scratch, to live independently, but my mother-in-law and sister-in-law came here to take away that opportunity, to force me to return and endure the humiliation all over again. That was the whole story. I paused. If your company considers that a woman trying to escape a situation of domestic abuse, I deliberately emphasized those words, and start anew, independent life constitutes inappropriate behavior, then I have nothing more to say. The conference room descended into a dead silence. Victoria Vance's gaze shifted from surprise to reflection, and then to understanding. She was a woman who had worked for many years in the corporate world and knew very well what family pressure looked like. Anna Miller, Victoria Vance began calmly. Your personal life, as long as it does not interfere with your work, is not the company's concern. But today's spectacle really has caused us trouble. I understand. I nodded. I withdraw my candidacy. Sorry for the inconvenience. No, said Victoria Vance. An interview is an interview, and a spectacle is a spectacle. We saw your professional qualities, and we understand your family situation. The company hires people for their skills and integrity, not for their family feuds. She looked at the mother-in-law and Sylvia, and her voice became stern. Ladies, this is an office, not a place to solve family issues. I ask you to leave immediately, or I will call security. Grace froze. She apparently didn't expect her homemade blackmail tactics to fail here. Miss Vance, listen to me. The mother-in-law tried to justify herself. Security. Victoria Vance pressed a button on the phone. 2 security guards quickly entered and politely, but firmly, asked Grace and Sylvia to leave. As she walked out, my mother-in-law turned around and shot me an evil glare, full of hatred. Sylvia kept her head down and didn't dare look at anyone. Only Chloe, Victoria Vance and I were left in the room. Anna, are you okay? Victoria Vance's voice softened a bit. I am perfectly fine. Thank you, Miss Vance. I straightened up. About the incident today, I apologize once again. Don't worry, Victoria Vance nodded. It's hard enough for a woman in the business world, and balancing family and career is even harder. The fact that you managed to walk away from such an environment is worthy of respect. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., come in for onboarding. I froze. You mean? You're hired. Victoria Vance rarely smiled. Chloe was right. You are a very promising designer. And as for the 3-year gap, in my opinion, if a person can run a household well, that in itself is proof of their capabilities. Thank you, Miss Vance. I bowed deeply, this time with all my heart. After Victoria left, Chloe rushed to hug me. Incredible, Anna. I knew you could do it. I nestled onto her shoulder. My body was trembling slightly, not from fear, but from emotion and relief. But your mother-in-law, Chloe said, worried. They won't back down so easily. I know. I wiped away a tear that had slipped out, but I won today's battle, and that is enough. Going downstairs, I texted Dylan. I got hired. Your mother and Sylvia made a scene here, but security threw them out. A few minutes later, Dylan called. Are you okay? His voice was tense. I'm fine. And I won. I was standing at the entrance of the commercial building, bathed in sunlight. Dylan, I realized something. What? When you stand up straight, the world makes way for you. I laughed. What's for dinner tonight? I'm buying. Let's celebrate my return to the profession. Hanging up, I looked at the heavy traffic and took a deep breath. The air smelled of freedom. The mother-in-law wouldn't rest. I knew that, but I wasn't afraid anymore. On my first day of work, Chloe personally took me to the design department. This is Anna Miller, our new colleague, senior designer. She introduced me to the team. She has over 3 years of experience in interior design. So, chat, exchange ideas. The colleagues clapped politely. In their eyes, you could read curiosity. The spectacle from yesterday, one way or another, had already spread through the company. My workstation was near a window with a good view. There was a vase with a plant on the desk. Chloe had taken care of that. Welcome back to the industry. She patted me on the shoulder. First project, the renovation of the neighborhood community center. The budget is tight, but the project is very important. Here are the materials. In 1 week I want the conceptual design. I flipped through the documents, my eyes shining. This was my turf. 3 years of family life had taught me to masterfully control expenses and optimize space under tight constraints. I dove into the work. At lunchtime my phone buzzed. It was Dylan. How was the first day? Great, I'm grinding over here, I replied. And you, with the team, everything good? Everything's good, just missing my wife. He sent a sad emoji. I smiled and put the phone away, getting ready to head to the cafeteria. As I stood up, I noticed a young woman at the next desk, discreetly looking at me. Catching my eye, she embarrassedly lowered her head. It was Lena, a recent grad, a bit shy, but very talented. Out of nowhere, Chloe appeared. By the way, let's grab lunch together today. I'll introduce you to the crew. In the cafeteria, Chloe sat me at a table with only women. Anna, this is Marina from marketing, Sonia from accounting, and Olga from admin. Chloe introduced everyone. They are our veterans. If you need anything, talk to them. Marina, a sharp and wise woman in her 40s, said, "We heard everything yesterday. You handled that mother-in-law well. That's the only way." Only way? The younger Sonia was indignant. In my opinion, you should have called the cops. Assault in public is domestic violence. Olga was more reserved. Anna, I've seen many like your mother-in-law. They aren't evil. They're foolish. They think they can control their daughters-in-law by manipulating duty and their sons. Be careful, she won't settle down. I nodded. I know, but I'm not afraid anymore. That's the spirit. Marina put a piece of meat on my plate. A woman has to be independent and self-sufficient. You have a job, you have an income, so you have a pillar. If she starts making a scene again, just say, "This is none of your business." Everyone laughed, and the atmosphere lightened up. After lunch, I dove back into work. I quickly got into the rhythm. The community center was located in an old factory building, a large space, but with an awkward layout. I sketched out a few options, but nothing felt right. Are you stuck? Lena approached quietly from behind and asked softly. I feel like something is missing. I rubbed my temples. Do you have any ideas? Lena said timidly. In old factories, the most interesting parts are the steel beams and the skylights. Maybe we shouldn't hide them, but rather highlight them, go for an industrial style, preserve the historic spirit. My eyes lit up. Keep going. The community center is mainly for the elderly and children. The industrial style might be too cold, but we can soften it with colors and soft furnishings. Lena spoke with more confidence. For example, painting the beams a bright yellow and setting up a green living wall under the skylights. It would have the industrial structure but the warmth of life. Great idea. I immediately started making changes to the sketch. Lena, you have great ideas. The girl blushed. It was you, Miss Miller, who gave me the courage. By the end of the workday, the draft was 70% done. I was packing my things when the phone rang again. Unknown number, but the area code was local. Hesitating, I answered. Hello, Anna honey. It's Uncle Peter. It was my mother-in-law's younger brother. His voice was filled with that usual arrogance. I heard you got a job. Congratulations. Thank you, Uncle. Did something happen? No, nothing special. He coughed nervously. It's just that your mother-in-law got sick. She says you left her in this state. Come now, we're family. Why fight like this? You could visit her, apologize, and case closed. Uncle, I spoke as I walked. First, I didn't make her sick. She was the one who came to my work, caused a scene, and got kicked out by security. Second, I am not guilty of anything and I will not apologize. Third, if she is sick, she needs to go to a hospital, not call me. What an insolent girl. How can you speak like that? Peter was furious. Your mother-in-law is elderly. Can't you have pity on her? Besides, now that you work at a good company, you should show some respect. Your sister-in-law said yesterday that she wants to buy a massage chair. Buy one and give it to her as an apology. I almost laughed. So that's it, Uncle. I haven't even received my first paycheck yet, I said calmly. And when I do, I will first pay my rent and my expenses. If your sister needs a massage chair, tell her to ask her favorite daughter-in-law or you, her brother. Anna Miller, do you not understand doing things the nice way? Peter lost his temper. The Foster family took you in. That's your good luck, and you think you're God's gift to the world. Uncle, I stopped at the entrance of the L train. If the luck the Foster family gave me was a slap in the face in front of everyone, insults, and an attempt to get me fired, then I'll pass on that luck. Saying that, I hung up and blocked the number. I barely put the phone away when another call came in. This time, Aunt Lucy. Anna, why did you block Uncle Peter? She started attacking immediately. He is older. He said a few words to you. What's the problem? Unblock him right now and apologize. I took a deep breath and stepped aside. Auntie, do you want anything else? Otherwise, I'm heading home. What tone is that? Shouted Lucy. Let me tell you, Anna Miller, don't think just because you got a job you can do whatever you want. Without the Foster family, you are a nobody. Dylan is just having fun right now. The novelty will wear off and you'll be crying a lot. Then we'll talk. Okay, Auntie, I replied coldly. And Auntie, I want to warn you, spreading rumors and slander is a crime. If you continue to say I have inappropriate behavior, I reserve the right to take legal action. Are you threatening me? Lucy's voice shook with rage. I'm not threatening, I'm informing you. I see my train approaching. I have things to do. Goodbye. Hanging up, I blocked the number. Stepping into the train car, I leaned against the handrail and felt a terrible exhaustion, not physical, but moral. Fighting off this endless emotional blackmail was more exhausting than doing 10 design projects. The phone buzzed again. I thought it was someone from the Foster family and was about to decline it, but I saw it was Dylan. Just got off work. His voice was gentle. I'm on the subway. My nose stung. Dylan, Uncle Peter, and Aunt Lucy called me. On the other end, there was a few seconds of silence. What did they say? I summarized it, trying to stay calm. I'm sorry. Dylan's voice was low. Did they hurt you again? They didn't hurt me, I said. I just pity them. They always use the same trick. You are the youngest. You have to respect. You have to endure. And they don't care that you're suffering. But I care, Dylan said firmly. Anna, I had an idea. What is it? This weekend, let's gather all the relatives for dinner, he said. Not to apologize. To connect the dots. We need to clearly set boundaries so they understand that from today on, we live our lives and they live theirs. Whoever crosses the line better be prepared. My heart beat faster. Are you sure? I'm sure. Dylan's voice was resolute. I won't let them bother you anymore. We will clear this up once and for all. All right. I gritted my teeth. This weekend then. Hanging up, I walked out of the subway station. The sunset was beautiful. The phone rang again. This time, Sylvia, from a new number. Anna, let's talk. Her voice was calm. Just the two of us, without Mom. I thought for a moment. Time? Place? Tomorrow, at lunchtime, at the coffee shop near your office, she said. Don't worry, I won't make a scene. Just talk. Okay. Hanging up, I already knew what to expect. Sylvia wanted to meet for 2 reasons. Either to convince me again on behalf of the mother-in-law, or, seeing that I was standing firm, she wanted to make peace, fearing my retaliation. Either way, I was ready. At home, Dylan was already there. A delicious smell of food wafted from the kitchen. Welcome back, designer Anna. He stood there in his apron, smiling with open arms. I threw myself into his arms and took a deep breath. I'm so tired today. Then rest. He kissed my hair. I'm handling the weekend dinner. You don't have to worry about a thing. Over dinner, we discussed the details. I already booked the restaurant, a VIP private dining room. Total privacy, said Dylan. I notified all the relatives, including Andrew and Sylvia. They will come. Will they? Dylan smiled coldly. Mom is afraid I will actually cut ties with her, so she will definitely come, looking for an opportunity to fix things. Andrew and Sylvia will come to see which way the wind blows. I nodded. What are we going to talk about? 3 points. Dylan ticked off a finger. First, we fulfill our duties as children, but our way. We transfer the maintenance money, we pay the medical bills, but we do not live together and we do not come running at the first call. Second, no one interferes in our marriage or our lives, including the issue of children. Third, if anyone bothers you again, especially at work, they will face the consequences. Face the consequences? What does that mean? Legal measures. Dylan's eyes went cold. Mom hit you in front of everyone. You can file a police report. They went to your workplace with slander. You can file a lawsuit. I used to think we were a family, that we could endure it, but now I understand. With some people, patience is just an incentive for their audacity. My heart warmed. Dylan, you've changed so much. I grew up. He took my hand. For someone who is worth it. The next day at noon, I went to the coffee shop. Sylvia was already there, 2 lattes ordered. Anna, sit down. She was surprisingly polite. I sat down and got straight to the point. Sylvia, why did you call me here? Sylvia stirred her coffee. Mom cried again yesterday. She says you won't answer her calls. Anna, I know Mom was wrong, but couldn't you, for my sake, take a step back? For your sake? I smiled. Sylvia, When you were at my job yesterday saying I had inappropriate behavior, were you thinking of me? Her face froze. Mom forced me to say it. And the passive-aggressive social media posts? Did Mom force you to write those too? I cut in. Sylvia had no answer. Sylvia, let's be direct. I picked up my cup. You called me because you're afraid that if I permanently cut ties with the family, Mom will move into your house and you'll have more work. Hit dead on. Sylvia looked away. You can relax, I continued. Mom won't move into your house. She loves her old house too much. But if she starts running over to your place every day demanding you take care of her, that's another matter. Sylvia's face went pale. What do you mean? I mean we can cooperate. I put the cup on the table. You don't bother me. I don't bother you. We tell Mom the same thing. We provide the maintenance money. But we're not living together. If she wants to throw a tantrum, neither of us reacts. With time, she'll calm down. Sylvia clearly hadn't expected this twist. But Mom, what is most important to Mom is her reputation and the male heir. I looked at her. If you take good care of your son and take him to see his grandmother more often, Mom won't bother you much. And I, for my part, will make her understand that Anna Miller is no longer someone she can humiliate. Sylvia sat in silence for a long time and finally nodded. Okay, but what about the weekend dinner? That dinner is our boundary-setting ritual, I said. Sylvia, if you are smart, you'll figure out which side to be on. Leaving the coffee shop, I felt mixed emotions. I had made a temporary peace with Sylvia, not because I forgave her, but because I knew the enemy of my enemy can sometimes become a temporary ally. Returning to the office, Lena rushed up to me excitedly. Anna, the community center project got approved. Miss Vance said we have an innovative vision. I took the approved project. On it was a note. Preserve history. Inject new life. Very good. Proceed with development. Incredible! We high-fived. Tonight let's stay late to work on the 3D rendering, I said. Yes. Lena's eyes sparkled. When I finished, it was past 8 p.m. Stepping out of the building, I saw Dylan's car. You don't have to wait for me when I stay late. I can take the train, I said, getting into the car. Not allowed. He fastened my seatbelt. You are my top security package now. I laughed and snuggled into his shoulder. The car sped through the night, and I closed my eyes. The weekend dinner felt like a decisive battle, but I wasn't afraid anymore because I knew this time I wasn't alone. I had a job, skills, and a man who loved me. And the Foster family, beyond blood ties and so-called duty, had nothing else. On Saturday night, as the first city lights came on, I stood in front of the mirror checking my outfit. A black dress, understated, perfectly tailored, not too flashy, but not dull either, projecting a professional style. Hair in a neat bun, small pearl earrings. Nervous? Dylan hugged me from behind. He was also in a sharp gray suit. He looked very sophisticated. A little, I admitted honestly, but mostly anxious. Me too, he smiled. After today, we will be completely free. The restaurant picked was an upscale spot. The VIP room guaranteed total privacy. We arrived half an hour early to check the menu and the seating arrangements. Mom will sit at the head. Andrew and Sylvia on the left, us on the right. Dylan showed the layout. The others fit wherever. I told the waiter not to interrupt us without permission. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Good luck. Remember, you're going there to declare war, not to negotiate. I replied with a clenched fist emoji. At 6:30 p.m., the relatives started arriving. Aunt Lucy and Uncle Peter were the first. Seeing us, they looked a bit awkward. Yesterday I had blocked their numbers, and today we had to sit at the same table. Dylan, we're here. Lucy smiled forcefully. Anna looks lovely today. Thank you, Auntie. I nodded politely. I didn't say anything else. Uncle Peter ignored me and addressed Dylan directly. Dylan, what are you up to these days? I heard you quit your job. A smart home startup? That's right, Dylan replied. A startup is nice, Peter said, but his eyes spelled contempt. In his view, leaving a stable job at the family business for a startup was the height of foolishness. Gradually, the other relatives arrived. The room filled with chatter. Everyone carefully avoided sensitive topics, talking instead about stock prices and real estate. At 6:50 p.m., the mother-in-law arrived with Andrew's family. Walking in, she immediately locked eyes with me. She wore an elegant burgundy dress, but the dark circles and exhausted appearance gave away her condition. Sylvia followed in a pale yellow dress, trying to look meek and amiable. Catching sight of me, she quickly looked away. Andrew walked in last with a tense expression. "Mom, sit here." Dylan pulled out the chair at the head of the table. Grace sat down, looked at everyone, and suddenly her eyes reddened. How rare. The whole family gathered. The atmosphere instantly grew tense. "Everyone's here, you may serve the food," Dylan told the waiter, his expression unchanging. They started bringing out the exquisite, beautifully plated dishes. Dylan had ordered the best items on the menu. It was obvious he had prepared. "Dylan, this must have cost a fortune," Aunt Lucy said, picking up a piece of lobster, testing the waters. "This dinner must have run a heavy tab." "It was necessary." Dylan poured wine for the elders. "I gathered you all today because I have a few things to announce." The room fell silent. Everyone put down their silverware. Grace's hands trembled slightly. Sylvia twisted a napkin. Andrew stared intently at his younger brother. "Before getting to the point, I want to make a toast to the elders." Dylan raised his glass. "Thank you for coming today." Everyone raised their glasses, each lost in their own thoughts. After drinking, Dylan set his glass down and took my hand, intertwining our fingers. The gesture drew everyone's eyes to our joined hands. "I gathered you all to officially announce a few things." Dylan's voice was calm but commanding. "First, Anna and I have moved out, and we are going to live in our own apartment. Mom can stay in the old house or rent it out. The rental income will be hers." Grace's face went pale. "Dylan, Mom, let me finish," Dylan interrupted. "Second, our obligations regarding her maintenance remain. $2,000 a month, plus gifts on holidays. If she gets sick, we will pay half the medical bills, but on the condition that she respects Anna and does not interfere in our lives. Third," he looked at the relatives, "from today on, my and Anna's lives, including when we want to have children, how we have them, and if we have them, is our private business. No one has the right to ask about it, much less use it to attack Anna. And fourth, and most importantly," Dylan looked at Grace, his gaze turning sharp, "if anyone else goes to Anna's workplace or defames her anywhere, I will take legal action, including but not limited to filing a police report and a lawsuit for defamation." Following those words, a dead silence reigned in the room. Grace's lips trembled, tears streaming down her face. "Dylan, so, because of this woman, you are willing to abandon your mother?" "I want respect for my wife, Mom." Dylan paused. "If you are incapable of that, we will have to keep our distance." "Distance?" Grace's voice cracked. "You are talking to me about distance? I raised you for 30 years to hear 'keep our distance.'" "You raised me for 30 years and I am grateful." Dylan remained calm. "That is why I will fulfill my financial obligations. But Anna owes you nothing. She married me to be my wife, not your maid." "Maid? Do maids live like this?" Grace exploded. "She ate in our house, lived in our house, and in 3 years she couldn't lay a single egg. And I still can't say anything?" "Enough." Dylan stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "Mom, watch your tongue." I stood up too, grabbing his hand to calm him down. Then I turned to Grace, and my voice rang clear and crisp. "Mom, you are right. For 3 years I ate in your house. I lived in your house. So today, in front of all the relatives, I want to settle the accounts." I pulled a notebook from my purse and opened it. First year of marriage, I quit my job and stayed home. Domestic labor at the lowest rate of a housekeeper, $2,000 a month. In 1 year, $24,000. Second year, you had gallbladder surgery. I cared for you in the hospital for 28 days. Private caregiver services run $200 a day. I'm estimating at $150. Total, Quater, Dose, cents. Third year, the old house was being renovated. I supervised the entire process for 3 months. A contractor's salary would be $8,000. I'm calculating at $5,000. Total, $15,000. I raised my eyes to Grace's increasingly distorted face. In 3 years, my unpaid labor for the foster family, in monetary value, totals $43,200. If you feel I owe you something, I can return that money right now, and you can pay me for my labor. The room froze in surprise, including Dylan. He clearly had no idea I kept such records. Grace's face turned green. You are settling scores with me?" "I'm not settling scores. I'm keeping a record." I closed the notebook. I didn't count before. I thought family didn't do that, but now I understand. Some people cannot be considered family. "Anna Miller," Andrew slammed the table. How do you speak to your mother? Andrew, Dylan shielded me. Not a single word she said is a lie. Mom was sick. She took care of her. The house was being renovated. She supervised. For 3 years she ran the household. Andrew had nothing to say. Sylvia muttered quietly. But Anna didn't work. Doing the housework wasn't an obligation for her. Sylvia? I looked at her. You work for the city. You make $6,000 a month. After work, how many times have you cooked dinner, washed the dishes, or stayed with your son? If doing the housework is an obligation, maybe you should quit your job too and become a model daughter-in-law. Sylvia flushed red and shut her mouth. Enough. Stop arguing. Uncle Peter tried to intervene. We are family. Why do this accounting? Anna, what is this? Your mother-in-law said a few words and you got this worked up. Worked up? I cut in. Uncle, if yesterday your mother-in-law went to your office and, in front of all your colleagues, said you had inappropriate behavior, would you have gotten worked up? Uncle Peter fell silent. Aunt Lucy, seeing this, shifted the focus to Dylan. Dylan, are you just going to stand there and watch your wife be rude to her elders? Where is the respect? Auntie, Dylan said calmly, respect is mutual. You respect my wife, I respect you. If you don't, then don't be offended if I'm rude. Lucy trembled with anger. Grace suddenly broke down in tears. Why do I deserve this punishment? I raised an ungrateful son who married a disrespectful brat. It would be better if I just died. The same trick again, tears, tantrums, threats. Before, as soon as she started crying, I'd soften. Dylan would give in. But today, Dylan just looked at her coldly. Mom, if you really wanted to die, you wouldn't be sitting here. You just want everyone to think I'm ungrateful and Anna is evil. The crying stopped. Grace lifted her head. In her eyes there was horror and hatred. She didn't expect that even this final trump card wouldn't work. We've said everything. Dylan sat back down. From today on, Anna and I live our lives. You live yours. Whoever wants to keep in touch is welcome. Whoever wants to meddle with advice, I'm sorry, but that's not for us. He raised his glass. This is the final toast. The dinner is concluded. From now on, it's to each their own. Saying that, he downed his drink. The relatives looked at each other and, one by one, also raised their glasses. Grace didn't move. She stared at us. Her lips trembled, but she didn't say a word. She knew she had lost for good. Waiter, the check. Dylan waved his hand. Paying the bill, he took my hand. Let's go. We stood up and walked toward the exit. At the door, I turned around. In the room, Grace sat helpless in her chair, staring blankly. Sylvia was pretending to console her. Andrew was frowning. The relatives were whispering among themselves. That look back was like a goodbye, a farewell to that patient, Anna Miller, to that humiliating marriage, to the whole suffocating atmosphere of the Foster family. Stepping out of the restaurant, the night wind blew across my face, carrying the freshness of the summer evening. Regrets? Dylan asked. None at all. I squeezed his hand tightly. I only feel relief. It might get harder from here, he warned. Mom won't surrender so easily. I know. I snuggled into his shoulder. But I'm not afraid anymore because I know that no matter what happens, you will be by my side. Always. He kissed my forehead. Always will be. The car headed home. I closed my eyes, reliving the scenes from the dinner. Grace's tears, the relatives' accusations, Sylvia's hypocrisy, Andrew's anger. But above all, Dylan's back protecting me, the warmth of his hand, and the determination in his words. From now on, to each their own. The debt for that slap had been partially paid today. It was a decisive break, a point of no return. But I knew it wasn't over yet. The mother-in-law wouldn't rest, Sylvia wouldn't accept it, and the relatives wouldn't miss a chance to watch the show. But what did it matter? I had a job, skills, and love. And they, beyond blood ties and so-called duty, had nothing left. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Lena. Anna, the client loved the community center rendering. Miss Vance said she's giving us a bonus. I smiled and replied, it's a team effort. 3 days after that dinner, my job officially began. In the morning meeting, Victoria Vance highlighted our project. The collaboration between Anna Miller and Lena has been very productive. The client is thrilled with the rendering. You two will lead this project through to final design and execution. The team clapped. Lena turned red with emotion. After the meeting, Chloe subtly flashed me a thumbs up. Nailed it. You snagged a key project right out of the gate. Lena's idea was solid, I said honestly. That's because you guided her well. Chloe lowered her voice. By the way, has your mother-in-law bothered you anymore? Not yet. I organized my notes. But knowing her temper, it's the calm before the storm. Be careful, Chloe nodded. By the way, there's a college alumni meetup this Saturday. Are you coming? People were asking about you. I hesitated. After college, I practically cut all ties with my classmates, partly because I was busy with household chores, and partly because I was ashamed. Anna Miller, the top student, ended up a housewife. Come. Chloe understood my doubts. Let everyone see that the top student of the class is back. All right. I nodded. I'll go. Work gave me back a long-forgotten sense of fulfillment. The days flew by in meetings with clients and drawing revisions. As I was finishing up, Lena approached with a stack of files. Anna, the client wants to add a children's reading area, but without increasing the budget. Let me think. I took the files. Maybe we can convert the storage room. As we were discussing, my phone rang. Unknown number. Thinking it might be a client, I answered. Hello, Anna Miller. A stern male voice. Yes, speaking. This is the front desk at the city hospital. Your mother-in-law, Grace Foster, was just admitted. Her condition is not good. We ask that you come urgently. My head spun. What? What happened to her? Preliminary diagnosis of a stroke. She's in the ICU right now. You were listed in her recent contacts on her cell phone, so we called you. Please notify the other relatives. They hung up. I stood paralyzed. My hands and feet went cold. Anna, are you all right? Lena asked, worried. My mother-in-law is in the hospital, I answered mechanically. A stroke. In the ICU. Oh my God. Go, hurry. Lena started gathering my things. I called Dylan. My voice trembled. Dylan, Mom is in the hospital. Stroke. ICU at City Hospital. There was a half-second of silence on the line. I'm heading there now. Don't worry, drive safe. Hanging up, I sprinted for the elevator. My head was a mess. 3 days ago she was full of life and now a stroke. Was it a real illness or another trick? When I arrived at the hospital, Dylan was already there talking to the doctor. Andrew and Sylvia had also just arrived. Sylvia's eyes were red, as if she had been crying. Doctor, how is my mother? Asked Dylan. The patient suffered an ischemic stroke. Fortunately, she was brought in on time, so the critical phase has passed, but she needs to stay in the hospital for observation. The doctor adjusted his glasses. You're her family, she has hypertension. Why do you let her get so worked up? Worked up? Dylan frowned. What happened? The person who brought her said she was arguing with someone in the courtyard of her building this afternoon. She argued and then collapsed, the doctor said. It's best if you find out the details from the neighbors. We entered the room. Grace was lying in bed, hooked up to tubes, pale. She seemed to have aged several years. Seeing us, her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved, but she couldn't speak. Mom! Sylvia ran to the bed crying. Why did you do this? Because of an ungrateful daughter-in-law, you let yourself end up like this. The words were clearly aimed at me. Andrew also looked at me with a complex expression. Anna, if something happens to Mom... Andrew, Dylan interrupted. The doctor said she argued with someone. With whom? About what? Andrew hesitated and looked at Sylvia. Sylvia sobbed and said, Who else? The gossiping neighbors. Mom had been in a bad mood the last few days. She was walking in the courtyard. Someone asked why they hadn't seen the youngest son and daughter-in-law in a while. Mom answered something, and they started talking behind her back, saying she kicked us out. Mom heard and started arguing with them. Just talking behind her back? Dylan pressed. Sylvia nodded, but her gaze was evasive. I understood everything. Knowing my mother-in-law's temper, she didn't just answer something. She was probably complaining about Dylan and me to the neighbors, and when she got called out on it, she couldn't handle it. Dylan, do you see? Mom is in this state. Can't you? Andrew started pressing on Dylan's conscience again. Andrew, I started talking, my voice surprisingly calm. Mom got sick. We will take care of her. Whatever money is needed for the treatment, we will pay it all. But if you want to put the blame on me, I need to clear something up. I took out my phone and played the voice recording. 3 days ago at the restaurant, I recorded every word your mother said. If needed, I can play it for the doctor so he can decide who was tormenting whom. The room went silent. Dylan looked at me in surprise. He didn't know I had recorded everything. Sylvia's face turned pale. Andrew froze. You recorded it? Sylvia's voice shook. Honest people have nothing to hide. I put the phone away. Now let's discuss how we are going to take care of her. I suggest hiring a caregiver. We split the costs down the middle. Dylan and I work. We can't be here 24/7. What caregiver? Protested Andrew. Family should care for family personally. Who's going to do it? I asked. Sylvia works. You work. Dylan and I work too. Or are you going to quit your job to take care of your mother? Andrew shut his mouth. He couldn't quit. He had fought so hard to reach a middle management position in the family business. We'll hire a caregiver, Dylan decided. I have contacts at a reliable agency. 24 hours a day. $300 a day. We split it. $150 per family. $150? Exclaimed Sylvia. That's $4,500 a month. That's too expensive. Do you have another suggestion? I looked at her. Are you quitting your job? Or is Andrew? Sylvia fell silent, her face twisted in discontent. In the end, under Dylan's pressure, they agreed to hire a caregiver. Dylan immediately called the agency. Within 2 hours, the caregiver was scheduled to arrive. With that settled, Dylan led me out into the hallway. Why didn't you tell me about the recording? I decided at the last minute, I admitted. Before the dinner I thought, if they try to flip the script on us again, I'll have proof. Dylan looked into my eyes. Anna, you've changed. For better? Or for worse? You got stronger. He took my hand. So strong that my heart aches for you, and I am so proud of you. I nestled into his shoulder, letting the exhaustion wash over me. Dylan, do you think Mom is really sick? Or is she faking? The doctor's diagnosis can't be a lie, Dylan said. But the cause? I fear it's not that simple. I asked a friend to find out from the neighbors what really happened this afternoon. I nodded. That was the real Dylan, calm on the outside, but razor sharp on the inside. The caregiver arrived quickly. A woman in her 40s who looked very reliable. We explained what needed to be done and paid the hospital bills. By the time we left, it was already dark. In the car, Dylan said, my friend found out everything. Mom really did argue with the neighbors, but they didn't start it. She approached them herself to complain. She said you were ungrateful, that I traded my mother for my wife. And one neighbor was blunt and replied, you slapped your daughter-in-law in front of everyone and you're still complaining? If I had a mother-in-law like that, I would have run away a long time ago. Mom couldn't take it, started screaming, and then collapsed. I see. I asked my friend to thank that neighbor. Dylan smiled bitterly. Though blunt, it was spot on. Mom brought this upon herself this time. At home, I collapsed exhausted onto the couch. The phone rang again. It was Chloe. Anna, how is your mother-in-law? The crisis passed, but she has to stay in the hospital. I summarized what happened. Chloe was silent. I don't know if I should say this. Say it. Today, before your mother-in-law collapsed, she called your workplace. Chloe's voice was serious. She called HR, said you had inappropriate behavior, and demanded that you be fired. I sat up straight. When? About an hour before she collapsed, said Chloe. Lena from HR picked up. She recognized your mother-in-law's voice and politely dismissed her. But I thought you should know. So that was it. My mother-in-law tried to get me fired, failed, went to complain to the neighbors, got exposed, and had a stroke. A vicious cycle. Chloe, thank you for telling me. What are you going to do? Asked Chloe. This time we got lucky that Lena didn't take it seriously. But what about next time? If she calls a client or makes something else up? I know. I gripped the phone. I'm going to handle it. Hanging up, I told Dylan everything. His face darkened. She wants to corner you. That's why we can't play passive defense anymore, I said. Dylan, I want to sue her. Dylan froze. Sue her? Assault in public is misdemeanor battery. Slander in the workplace is defamation, I said calmly. Before, I endured it for your sake. But now she wants to destroy my career. I can't tolerate it anymore. Dylan looked at me with a complex expression. Have you thought this through? If you sue her, there's no going back. There was no going back since that dinner. I smiled bitterly. Dylan, you know what the irony is? If she had succeeded, I would have been fired. I would have lost my job. And then I would be even more dependent on you. Even more chained to the foster family. And she could do whatever she wanted with me. She isn't foolish, she is evil. Dylan remained silent for a long time and finally nodded. All right, I support you. Do you need a lawyer? I have a friend who specializes in these cases. No, I said. This time I do it myself. I'm going in for a consultation. I'm gathering the evidence. Dylan, this is my battle. But you aren't alone. He took my hand. The next day, I took a half day off and went to a law firm. I met with a lawyer named Miss Sampson. She seemed highly professional. After hearing my story, she adjusted her glasses. Anna, your situation is very clear. Assault with witnesses is battery. Slander at work is defamation of character. You can demand a public apology and seek financial damages. I want to sue her, I said. Civil or criminal, it doesn't matter. I want her to understand that assault has a price. Slander, too. The lawyer nodded. Okay, I'll take the case. But you'll need to gather evidence. Witness testimonies, camera footage if available, a medical report of the bruising, and also proof that she called your workplace. I have witness testimonies. There were many relatives that day, I said. Probably no camera footage, but I have photos of my swollen cheek. At work, my colleagues can testify. That's sufficient, said Sampson. First, we'll send her a cease and desist letter demanding a public apology and payment for damages. If she refuses, we'll file the lawsuit. Leaving the law firm, I stood on the street under the bright sun and suddenly felt an incredible sense of relief. It turns out that defending yourself using the law is so unequivocally right. The phone rang. It was Sylvia. Anna, Mom woke up. She wants to see you. Her voice was tired. Can't you back down, Sylvia? You know that yesterday she called my job and demanded I be fired? I asked calmly. Silence on the line. You knew, didn't you? I smiled. So don't talk to me about backing down. I'm not her mother. I have no obligation to coddle her. Anna, you're being so cruel. Sylvia's voice trembled. Mom is in this state. And you. I can't talk, I interrupted. I'm heading to the hospital now, but I have something to say to her. Hanging up, I hailed a cab. On the way, I texted Dylan. I'm going to the hospital to see your mother. I need to clear something up. Don't worry, I'll control myself. Dylan quickly replied. I'm heading there now. Wait for me. In the ICU, Grace was conscious but still on oxygen, speaking with difficulty. Catching sight of me, her gaze darkened and she turned her face away. Mom! I approached the bed, placing down a bag of fruit. Are you feeling better? She remained silent. Andrew and Sylvia stood nearby, tense. Mom, I need to tell you something. I pulled up a chair and sat down. Yesterday, you called my workplace and demanded I be fired. Yes, you can't deny it. The company has a record of the call. I continued. Furthermore, 3 days ago at the restaurant, you slapped me in front of everyone, and there are many witnesses. Because of these 2 incidents, I have instructed a lawyer to initiate a lawsuit. You want to sue me? Grace finally managed to say in a hoarse voice. Yes. The lawyer's letter will arrive in a day or 2. If you agree to publicly apologize and pay a settlement, I might consider dropping the lawsuit. Otherwise, I will see you in court. Anna Miller, are you even human? Exploded Andrew. Mom is in this condition, and you want to sue her? Andrew! It's exactly because she is alive that I can sue her. I looked at him. If she had succeeded in taking away my job, making it impossible for me to live, things wouldn't be so simple. Andrew recoiled from the cold gleam in my eyes. Mom, I used to respect you as my elder and yielded to you on everything. I turned back to Grace. But you confused my patience with weakness, and my respect with submission. From today on, everything will be different. You hit me, I'll sue. You ruin my career, I'll sue. If you keep doing it over and over, I will keep suing over and over until you learn to respect others. Grace began to tremble with rage. The heart monitor beeped rapidly. Anna, enough fighting. Sylvia tried to intervene. Sylvia, this concerns you too. I looked at her. If you continue to write passive-aggressive posts on social media or spread rumors about me, I will sue you for defamation too. Go read up on the law. Sylvia's face went pale. She shut up. At that moment, Dylan walked in holding a folder. Mom, this is the contract for the caregiver. I signed off on the costs. Andrew and I are splitting it 50/50. He placed the folder on the nightstand. By the way, I just spoke to the doctor. You will have to stay in the hospital for at least 2 weeks. During that time, we will take turns visiting, but primarily the caregiver will take care of you. Rest. Don't dwell on bad things. You! Grace couldn't form a sentence. We have to go. Dylan took my hand. Mom, take care of yourself and expect the lawyer's letter. Don't forget to sign for the receipt. Walking out of the room, I took a deep breath. Said everything? Dylan asked. Everything. I nodded. And it feels so good. Great, he smiled. I've already notified the lawyer. The letter will be sent tomorrow. And I had friends from your building spread the real version of what happened yesterday. Now the whole courtyard knows Mom went to the hospital because she hit her daughter-in-law, went to her job to cause a scene, and when she got exposed, she couldn't handle it. I froze. You're using her own weapon. She cares so much about her reputation. Dylan's eyes were icy, so I stripped her of that reputation. I looked at the man beside me and realized he was even more resolute and reliable than I had thought. Let's go home. He put his arm around my shoulders. What's for dinner tonight? I'll cook. Something simple. I leaned into him. By the way, I need to tell you. I think I really have changed. I'm not that nice girl anymore. Kindness is for those who deserve it. Dylan kissed my forehead. For those who don't, kindness is foolishness. Anna, you just grew up. Yes, I grew up. From a submissive daughter-in-law to an adult who knows how to defend herself and strike back. And this was only the beginning. 3 days after the cease and desist letter was sent, Andrew called Dylan. His voice was filled with fury. Dylan, did you really let your wife sue our mother? Are you even human? He was yelling so loudly that I could hear every word. Dylan put him on speakerphone, set the phone on the table, and continued working. Andrew, Anna is an independent person. She has the right to sue whoever she wants. What right? She has no right to sue her mother-in-law, bellowed Andrew. Mom is in the hospital, you don't visit her, and you send lawyers letters. The neighbors are all saying it was you two who put her in that state. She really did put herself in that state, Dylan said calmly. It's just that she was told the truth to her face and couldn't handle it. Andrew, do you want to hear the full version circulating around your condo? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Mom hit Anna in front of everyone, then went to her work with slander to get her fired. The whole building knows about it now. They aren't debating that Mom got sick. But why did she get sick? Because she did a terrible thing, was exposed, and couldn't take it. You! What have you been telling people? Andrew panicked. I just asked friends to tell the truth. Dylan's tone didn't change. Mom can't be the only one complaining to everyone while we have to stay quiet. Dylan, you're going to kill Mom this way. What will kill her is her own malice, not us. Dylan finally stopped typing. Andrew, I'll give you 2 options. First, you convince Mom to accept the terms of the letter, publicly apologize, and pay Anna a settlement for emotional distress of $5,000. And we close the matter. Second, we meet in court, and then the story of the assault and slander becomes a matter of public record. Which do you think is better for Mom? The call abruptly disconnected. I was sitting on the couch, looking at Dylan. $5,000? Isn't that low? It's not about the money. Dylan came over and sat next to me. It's about the principle. If she agrees to apologize and pay, it means she admits her guilt. If not, we see her in court, and then we won't just ask for $5,000. I nodded, but deep down I knew that, given my mother-in-law's temper, she would never apologize. And sure enough, the next day, Sylvia called me. Anna. Mom received the letter. Her voice sounded drained. She tore it up, said she will fight you to the bitter end. You. Couldn't you take a step back? Why drag this into court for everyone to laugh at us? Sylvia, people started laughing a long time ago. I was organizing my design drafts while on the phone. When your mother slapped me in front of everyone, that was already a laughing matter. When she showed up at my job, that was already a laughing matter. Now, I am simply defending my rights through legal channels. Why is that a laughing matter? But washing dirty laundry in public. The one who washed the dirty laundry was your mother, not me, I interrupted. Sylvia, if you really want to help, convince her to accept the terms. $5,000 to the foster family is nothing. And an apology is just a message in the family group chat. That is already a huge concession on my part. Sylvia was silent for a long time. And if I can't convince her, then we'll see each other in court, I said firmly. And then the story of how she hit me and slandered me will become an official public document. She prizes her reputation so much, right? A court ruling is very different from neighborhood gossip. Hanging up, I went back to work. The community center project entered the construction phase, and Lena and I frequently visited the site. During the day we met with contractors and chose materials. The site was dusty, but I felt right in my element. Seeing the blueprints gradually transform into reality was an incomparable feeling. Anna, look, does this tile color work? Lena held up a sample. It works, but I think that light gray would be better. It'll visually expand the space, I compared them. And yes, the rubber flooring in the kids' area needs to be thicker. Safety first. While we were discussing, my phone rang again. This time, Chloe. Anna, your mother-in-law is acting up again. Her voice was frantic. She found the number for your client somewhere, called him, and said you have integrity issues, your designs are terrible, and demanded you be replaced. My head spun. Which client? That one, the city cultural director for the community center project, said Chloe. Fortunately, he proved to be a sensible person. He didn't believe her and called our company, Miss. Vance said this needs to be resolved once and for all, or it'll damage the agency's reputation. I gripped the phone so hard my nails dug into my palm. My mother-in-law had decided to destroy me. Chloe, tell Miss Vance I will handle everything. I forced myself to calm down. I will personally go to the client, apologize, and explain. What are you going to do? Gather evidence and file an additional lawsuit, I said through gritted teeth. This is a deliberate defamation campaign. I will make her pay. In the afternoon, Lena and I went to the Cultural Affairs Department. The director, a woman in her 50s, looked highly professional. I am so sorry for causing this disruption, I bowed deeply. My mother-in-law, due to family disputes, is taking out her anger on my work. On her behalf, I apologize. She waved her hand. Anna, I heard about your family situation. Honestly, I admire you, getting out of an environment like that and working so brilliantly. I froze. I am a woman too. I was a daughter-in-law once. She poured me some tea. When your mother-in-law called, at first I was angry, but then I thought, if she was right, why would she call secretly? She would have gone to your company and said it to your face. My nose stung. Thank you for understanding. But Anna, you need to resolve this. She grew more serious. This time it was me. Next time it might be a client who isn't so understanding. You are a designer. Reputation is everything to you. I understand. I nodded. I have already hired a lawyer. I am gathering evidence. After this, she will not dare do it again. Excellent, she smiled. Now, to work. The community center design pleases me very much, especially the children's reading area. All the neighborhood mothers are thrilled. Leaving the department, I breathed a sigh of relief. But the anger in my chest was growing ever larger. At home, Dylan was already there. His face was dark. You know too? I asked. The cultural director called me, Dylan said. He knows one of my business partners. Advised us to settle this issue. I'm already gathering evidence, I said. This time I'm going to sue her until she stops. Dylan walked over and hugged me. Anna, I'm sorry. Did they hurt you again? They didn't hurt me. I leaned into his shoulder. I'm just sad. Why does she hate me so much that she wants to strip me of everything? Because she can no longer control you, Dylan said. Before, you were at home. She could do whatever she wanted with you. Now you work, you are independent. She is panicking. People like her only feel secure when they are humiliating others. Yes, she can't control me, so she wants to destroy me. How evil. Dylan, I want to do something. I lifted my head. What? Write about this in the family group chat, I said. Not to complain, but to inform. To tell all the relatives what she did and what I intend to do, so they don't just hear one side and blame me. Dylan thought for a second. All right, I support you. That night, I wrote a long message attaching screenshots of my mother-in-law's calls to my workplace and to the client obtained through a lawyer's request, along with a photo of the cease and desist letter. The tone was objective, sticking only to the facts. And then I hit send to the family group, which had over 20 people. The group chat exploded. The first to react was Aunt Lucy. Anna, what are you doing? Your mother is in the hospital. Uncle Peter, you don't wash dirty laundry in public. Delete this immediately. Another aunt. Anna honey, your mother-in-law is elderly. She made a mistake. Can't you forgive her? I looked at the messages and smiled coldly. As always, no matter the facts, they will always say, forgive her. I replied, Dear elders, I sent this not to complain, but to inform. First, my mother-in-law's actions are seriously harming my career and my life. Second, I have handed this case over to a lawyer. Third, if anything similar happens again, I will go to the police. And the one who washed dirty laundry in public was her, not me. I am merely clarifying the facts. There were a few minutes of silence in the group chat, and then someone I completely didn't expect typed a message. Andrew. What Anna wrote is true. Mom really did assault her, really did go to her workplace, and is now calling her clients. I tried to dissuade her, but she won't listen. This time I am on Dylan and Anna's side. The message was like a bomb. Even Dylan was surprised. Soon, Sylvia also wrote, Mom really crossed the line this time. Anna, I'm sorry for defending her before. I looked at my phone and understood everything. Andrew and Sylvia didn't have a sudden epiphany. They simply realized that the mother-in-law was rapidly losing support, and taking her side meant going down with her. And surely enough, Andrew privately messaged Dylan. Dylan, Mom went too far this time. I can be a witness. She really did assault and slander Anna. If you want to sue, sue. I won't stand in the way. But the hospital expenses. Dylan replied, The hospital expenses we will continue to split. But as for the rest, she will have to answer for herself. You understand, right? Hanging up, Dylan looked at me. Andrew and Sylvia switched to our side. It was to be expected, I said calmly. They are masters at sensing which way the wind blows. Well, at least now no one will defend her. While we were talking, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. Anna? This is Dr. Adams, from neurology at City Hospital. The voice was serious. Your mother-in-law was highly agitated today. Her blood pressure spiked. We gave her a sedative. She won't stop murmuring your name, saying you want to kill her. I squeezed the phone. Doctor, we do have a conflict, but I didn't provoke her. She was the one who raised her hand to me. First, she went to my job with slander, and I was forced to seek a lawyer. I understand. The doctor sighed. The reason for my call is this. Your mother-in-law's emotional state is very fragile right now. If she continues to get agitated, she could have a second stroke, and then the situation will be very serious. I fell silent. Hate is hate, but if she truly died because of this... Doctor, I will be careful, I finally said. But I cannot, because of her illness, give up my right to defend myself. Let's do this. For now, I won't visit her. I won't provoke her. But the lawsuit my lawyer initiated, I won't cancel it. I understand. The doctor seemed to sigh in relief. I'm glad you are taking this stance. I called to warn you. Her psyche is very vulnerable right now. Take care. Thank you, doctor. Hanging up, I sat in thought. What is it? Asked Dylan. The doctor said she's highly agitated. She could have another stroke. I rubbed my temples. Dylan, I think I'm being too cruel. She was the one who was cruel first. Dylan took my hand. Anna, kindness must have limits. If you back down now out of fear that she will get sick, she will use that trick forever. Yes, emotional blackmail, manipulating with one's own health and life. What do we do now? I asked. We keep going, Dylan said firmly. But we can talk to the lawyer, adjust the strategy a bit. For example, send her another letter, demanding that she stop the slander and publicly apologize. If she does, we can temporarily suspend the lawsuit. If not, we proceed. I nodded. It was a good option. We held our ground but left a way out. The next day, I discussed it with Miss Sampson. We drafted a letter demanding that the mother-in-law publicly apologize within 3 days and commit to never bothering me or my company again, otherwise we would immediately file the suit. The letter was sent to the hospital again. Dylan posted a copy in the family group chat. Mom, the letter has been received. This is your last chance. If you apologize, we close the matter. If not, we will see you in court. The choice is yours. Silence reigned in the group chat. Everyone waited to see how this battle between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law would end. 3 days later, my mother-in-law didn't apologize, but she also stopped making a scene. She stayed quiet in the hospital, didn't call, didn't complain. Even when Andrew and Sylvia visited her, she hardly spoke. Dylan's friends reported that the neighbors now avoided her. Not because they hated her, but because they were afraid. Afraid that she would argue with someone again and collapse. And I continued living my life. The community center project was going great. The college alumni meetup Chloe mentioned also happened. I even bought a new dress. On Saturday evening, I stood in front of the mirror. Black dress, elegant makeup, sparkling eyes. Compared to the oppressed daughter-in-law I was a month ago, I was a completely different person. Honey, you look beautiful. Dylan hugged me. Let's go or we'll be late. I smiled. The meetup took place in the VIP lounge of a nice restaurant. As soon as I walked in, Chloe rushed over. Anna, finally! My former classmates surrounded me. Anna, it's been so long. You look even prettier. I heard you're a senior designer now. That's awesome. You were always the most talented. I knew I was smiling, but inside I felt a mix of confusion. These people, these praises. All of this should have been mine if it hadn't been for those 3 years. Anna, we heard about your mother-in-law, one classmate said quietly. You handled it perfectly. That's how you deal with people like that. Thank you. I raised my glass to everyone. To making sure that, no matter what happens, we remain ourselves. Cheers to that. Everyone raised their glasses. That night, I drank a lot, talked a lot, laughed a lot, as if making up for 3 lost years. At the end of the evening, the class representative approached me. Anna, my firm is looking for a design director. Are you interested? The salary is this much. He held up his fingers. I was surprised. That much? You deserve it, he said seriously. I still remember your senior thesis. Anna, don't bury your talent. At home, I told Dylan. Are you going to accept? He asked. I'll think about it. I leaned on his shoulder. I like my current job. Miss Vance treats me well, Chloe is close by, and I haven't finished the community center project yet. Whatever you want. Dylan kissed my forehead. Whatever you decide, I will support you. It was late, but I couldn't sleep. My mother-in-law's silence, the relatives' support, the success at work, the recognition from my peers. Everything felt like a dream. But the physical bruise on my face had long faded, while the scar on my soul remained. I knew the battle between me and my mother-in-law wasn't over. Her silence wasn't defeat, it was the calm before the storm. My mother-in-law's silence lasted a week. During that week, my life became surprisingly tranquil. At work, the community center project was in full swing. The children's area that Lena and I designed became the highlight. Dylan's startup was also taking off. They secured a 3rd round of funding. He was very busy, but every night he came home to have dinner with me. From my mother-in-law, total silence. She didn't interfere in our lives anymore. In the family group, she only posted about healthy living. Everything seemed to be falling into place, until Saturday night when Dylan's phone rang. It was Andrew. Dylan, come to the hospital immediately. Mom collapsed. When we arrived, Grace was already in the ICU. Andrew and Sylvia were at the door, pale. What happened? Asked Dylan. I don't know. Andrew ran his hand through his hair. At dinner, everything was fine, and suddenly she said she was dizzy and collapsed. The doctor says it might be a second stroke. The ICU light was on. The hallway was frighteningly silent. I sat on the bench feeling an internal conflict. I hated her, yes, but seeing her in the ICU was painful. An hour later, the doctor came out. The crisis has passed, but this time it's much more serious. The left side of her body may be permanently paralyzed. She will need extensive rehabilitation. We also discovered she had been taking antidepressants for a long time, but she seems to have stopped taking them on her own recently. That might have triggered the attack. Stopped on her own? We all froze. Why? Many patients, when they start feeling better, stop taking the medication. It's very dangerous. The doctor shook his head. Prepare yourselves for a long period of care. She may never be able to fully care for herself again. Grace was transferred to a step-down unit. Through the glass, I saw her lying there, hooked up to tubes, fragile as a doll. That authoritative and cruel woman who controlled everyone had vanished. Andrew approached Dylan. Dylan, what do we do now? Hire a 24/7 caregiver, Dylan said. We split the costs. It's not about the money, Andrew sighed. Mom needs her children's attention. Couldn't you and Anna at least visit her once in a while? Dylan looked at me. I understood he was asking for my opinion. I looked at the mother-in-law in the hospital room, at the woman who hit me, who tried to get me fired, who said the cruelest words, and I nodded. All right, we will come. Not out of forgiveness, but out of pity. 3 days later, Grace was moved to a regular room. She was conscious, but her left side wouldn't move. Her speech was slurred. Seeing us, her eyes teared up, her lips trembled. Mom, rest. Dylan took her hand. We'll take care of you. Tears rolled from her eyes. She murmured something. I leaned in and listened. Dud-ye. It's in the past, I said. Just focus on recovering. From that day on, Dylan and I visited her twice a week for half an hour. We hired the best caregiver and paid for rehabilitation, but I knew something had been lost forever. A month later, Chloe called me for coffee. How is your mother-in-law? Doing rehab, but very slowly. I stirred my coffee. The doctor says if she can eventually take care of her basic needs, that'll be a massive victory. Chloe fell silent. Do you still hate her? I do, I admitted. But hating a paralyzed, defenseless old woman makes no sense. I just want to live my life. Right. Chloe took my hand. You know what I value most about you? You know how to love and how to hate, but you don't let hate destroy you. I smiled, because I have more important things to do. And it was true. My design project made it to the finals of a city-wide competition. Dylan's startup landed its first major contract. He told me that as soon as it was finalized, we would finally take our delayed honeymoon. Our life was finally taking shape. 3 months after his mother's illness, Andrew called us for a talk. You see Mom's condition. He rubbed his hands. The doctor says rehab at home will be better. I want to take her home. To whose home? Asked Dylan. To the old house, Andrew said, and I can move in there to take care of her. But what about Sylvia and the kids? Sylvia doesn't agree. She says the kids have school, she has work, she doesn't have time to take care of a sick person. Plus, Mom needs professional care now. That's why I wanted you guys to take over. Not take over completely, but take turns caring for her. Dylan cut straight to the chase. Yes? I can take care of her Monday to Friday. And on weekends, couldn't you and Anna cover for me? I looked at Dylan. I knew what he was thinking. His mother really needed care. But we can pay for a caregiver on the weekends, said Dylan. Double time. I'm sure someone will take it. Mom doesn't want a caregiver. Andrew shook his head. She wants her family close. So that won't work. Andrew, we are willing to pay, to help, but caring for her every single weekend is unrealistic. We work too. He looked at me. Besides, after everything Mom did to Anna, do you really think she can take care of her without feeling repulsed? Andrew fell silent. Andrew, I can visit her, talk to her, but feed her, clean her. I can't do it, I said calmly. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't. Every time I get close to her, I remember that slap, those words. It won't be good for her, and it won't be good for me. Andrew looked at me and sighed. I understand. I'll figure something out. After he left, Dylan took my hand. Thank you for telling the truth. I just didn't want to pretend anymore. I leaned on his shoulder. I might not hate her, but I also can't love her. And that was right. Distance. In the end, Andrew hired a live-in caregiver. Every day after work, he stopped by the old house. Sylvia occasionally brought their son over, and we went once a week to sit and chat. The relationship was cold, but safe. Autumn arrived. My design project won the silver medal. At the black tie ceremony, I walked up to the stage. The spotlights hit me, and I felt that all the hurt and tears had not been in vain. The floor belongs to Anna Miller. The presenter handed me the microphone. I looked out at the audience. In the front row, Dylan smiled and waved at me. Chloe, Victoria Vance, Lena, everyone who supported me was there. Thank you. My voice trembled. This award means so much to me. 3 years ago, I left my career for my family, thinking that was a woman's true happiness. 3 years later, standing here, I understand that a woman's happiness doesn't lie in her family, it lies within herself. The audience erupted in applause. I want to thank my husband, who stood by my side in my most difficult moments. I want to thank my colleagues who gave me the chance to return. And finally, I want to thank myself, the woman who was weak, but found her strength. No matter what happens, never give up on yourselves, because only you can decide who you are. To roaring applause, I walked off the stage. At the bottom, Dylan waited for me with a bouquet of sunflowers. For my incredible wife. He kissed my forehead. That night, we celebrated hard. On the way home, I looked out the window at the nighttime city. Dylan, I had an idea, I said. What is it? I want to open my own studio, specializing in the renovation of old apartments and public spaces. I turned to him. To help people who want to change their lives, especially women, so they know that by changing your space, you can change your life. Dylan's eyes lit up. Great idea. I support you. Capital, office space, it's all on me. No, I squeezed his hand. This time I want to do it myself. But I need your advice and support. Of course. He smiled. Always. 3 months later, my design studio, Anna Spaces, opened its doors. Small, but cozy. My first client was a divorced woman referred by Chloe. I want a space that is entirely my own, she said. To forget the past, start fresh. I smiled. Let's do this together. The studio gradually took off. I was incredibly busy, but happy. My mother-in-law's condition improved slowly, but steadily. She could now eat and speak on her own. When we visited her, she would slowly slur, "Good job." I'd peel an apple for her. "You put in the effort too, Mom." She would nod. In her eyes there was no longer that sharpness and cruelty, just a cloudy calm. On New Year's Eve, we gathered as a family once again. In the living room of the old house, Grace sat in a wheelchair. Her left side still moved with difficulty, but she looked better. The dinner was prepared by Andrew and Sylvia. Dylan and I brought wine and fruit. The atmosphere was a bit tense, but peaceful. At the table, Grace suddenly spoke, slurred but clearly. "Anna, I'm sorry." Everyone fell silent. "I was wrong." Tears rolled from her eyes. "You are a good daughter-in-law." I looked at the woman I had once hated with all my strength and felt a mix of emotions. Hate? No. Love? Also no. But there was no more anger either. "It's in the past, Mom." I placed a piece of fish on her plate. "It's a new year. We need to live well." "Yes. Well," she repeated, crying. After dinner, Dylan and I went out to the balcony to watch the fireworks. In the distance, bursts of light exploded in the sky. "It's been a year." Dylan hugged me. "It feels like a lifetime." "Yes." I leaned on his shoulder. "In 1 year, I went from an oppressed daughter-in-law to a studio owner. Sometimes I think, if it wasn't for that slap, I'd still be living like a zombie in that house. So, we have to thank that slap." I shake my head at that. "We have to thank you for finding the strength to get up after it, and to you for staying by my side." Dylan kissed my hair. "I will always be by your side." The fireworks continued to light up the night sky. I remembered the person I was a year ago, the Anna Miller who cried after the slap. That night we decided to leave. The nervousness of the interview, the battle at the hospital, the determination to sue. All the hurt, all the tears, all the struggle had transformed into the calm and strength I held today. "Dylan, I want to write our story," I said suddenly. "Write it for those women who are still suffering in their marriages. Tell them that whatever happens, you must have the courage to stand up. Tell them that domestic abuse is not a family matter, but a crime. Tell them that economic independence is a woman's main pillar." "Great idea." Dylan squeezed my hand tightly. "I'll help you." "But only when the studio is fully stabilized," I smiled. "I have a lot of work right now, no rush. We have our whole lives ahead of us." "Yes, our whole lives to heal wounds, to create, to love and be loved, to become the best version of ourselves." The fireworks ended, and the sky went dark, but I knew the dawn was near. A new year, a new beginning. And I was ready to love, to work, to live, ready to accept all the challenges and all the good things, because I knew that whatever awaited me, I had the courage to stand up, the right to choose, and the bravery to say no. That slap taught me that. And this is my gift to all women.